Welcome back to Introduction to Engineering Design, Module 5.5a. Today we're going to work on our Automoblox tire, so I'm going to start with a new drawing, and a new model rather. File new part, and we're going to start out by extruding the rim. Let me flip open to the Word document here. And we're going to start out here and make an extrusion that's just 0.5 inches thick, 0.5 inches wide, 1.65 tall with a 0.1 offset. So we've done this before, so I'll go fairly rapidly. Start on the front plane, draw a circle at the origin, dimension that circle to 1.65 inches, and do an offset entity of that circle, reverse it so it's inside, and we're looking for 0.1 inches. Exit my sketch, and I'm going to extrude that to 0.5 inches, mid-plane, and there you have your extrusion. Accept that, and I'm going to change my part right here, and I'm going to right-click on it, and I'm going to come down here and change my material to rubber. I'm also going to right-click again on it, and I'm going to change my appearance to this bright green rubber. And now everything that I do from here out will be that green color and made of rubber. Okay, great. So let's go ahead and start to sketch the next thing, which is going to be the rib in our tire. So as we look at this tire, we can see that we've got an offset entity. It's going to form the rib. So let's go ahead and get into this rib construction here. And I'm going to do this again fairly rapidly. So I'm going to choose to do an extrusion, and I'm going to go ahead here and choose the plane that I originally did my mid-plane construction in, which for me is the front plane. So I'll click on that front plane, and I'm going to do another sketch. But I'm going to use the underlying sketch, so I'm going to convert the entity of the inside of my tire. Accept that, and you'll see the black line appears now. And I'm going to do a second offset entity of that tire. Reverse that so that it goes inside, and I want that offset to be 0.03. I'll go ahead and accept that. So I've got this arc, and what I really want to do is I want to make a rib out of that arc. So let me pull our drawing back over here. And you'll see that I want a 4-degree portion of that arc. So let me go ahead and do this. And we're going to have to fiddle with this a little bit to get it to fully define. And I didn't really do that in the instructions, but let's start now. So I'm going to make a construction line that goes from my midpoint vertically to my outside ring. Go ahead and select that line. And I'm going to make a second line that goes out to my first ring and continues on to my second ring. And we'll go ahead and select that. Now a couple things is these two lines right here, this line and this line, need to be collinear. I'm going to establish that collinearity, and I'm going to go ahead and make this line a construction line. What we want to do here is we want to go ahead and dimension, and we haven't done this an awful lot for angles, but to dimension an angle between two lines, I choose my first line, and then I choose my second line, and you'll see that I get the angle indicator, 4.76 degrees in this instance. If I come around this corner, you'll see that I get a different angle, and that's the reflected angle, 175 that way or 174 that way. Either way, it's the same information, just presented differently, but we want it to be 4 degrees. Now, because I made a collinear relationship between my construction line and my actual line, I can go ahead and keep those two lines together. So as I change this angle, my line, my actual edge line, maintains that relationship. So let's go ahead and do a mirror here. We're going to mirror the entity. So it's going to ask us what we want to mirror. And I want to mirror this line. And I want to mirror it about my construction line. Accept that, and you'll see I've got a fully defined sketch, but I've got too much information in here, so I want to get rid of some of these lines. We've done this before. We'll use the power trim, read the instructions. I'll go ahead and drag my line my cursor through the lines, and you'll see that they disappear. So all that I'm left with is this wedge, and it's fully defined. And it's fully defined because I've got these two construction lines which define its radius and its outside for the mirror. At that point, let me exit my sketch. And I want to do a mid-plane extrusion. And I want this to be 0.4 inches. So now I've done a single rib in the tire. Next I want to do is I want to do a circular pattern, and to do this I just want to show you another feature, another way to put a reference geometry, and you don't need to do this for the circular pattern, but we're going to do this anyway. So I want to put an axis in here, and the axis, if I click on a reference geometry and axis, you can see that I can choose several different ways to put an axis in. We're going to use a cylindrical face, and we're going to choose the inside face of our tire. So there's our cylindrical face, and that's just the axis. I'll go ahead and rename this. And call it tire axis, so it means something to me later on. Alright, so let's go ahead and do a circular pattern. And what we want to pattern is we want to pattern a single rib 15 more times around the inside of the tire. So I'll click on this linear pattern up here, choose circular pattern, and the first thing it asks me is what do I want to rotate about. If I choose the tire axis, you'll see that it likes that. I could also choose the outside ring here if I wanted to. I could do a lot of different things here. So if I wanted to use the outside ring, I could certainly use that. There's nothing wrong with that. But we put the axis in just as an exercise so we could try this. So let's go to the tire axis. And then it asks me what feature I want to mirror. So I'm going to go ahead and click over here, and in my tree I can actually choose my feature just as readily as I can clicking on it. You see as I scroll down, there's Boss Extrude 2. I'm going to choose that, and I want it to replicate 15 times equal spacing. And accept that. Now I've got my ribs. Let's go ahead and go back, and we're going to do one more extrusion on this. And what we want to do is extrude a very thin center ring into our model. So we're going to extrude this little ring 0.015. So again, we'll go back in and start another sketch. And this time what we want to do is we want to go back into that front plane. We're going to go ahead and convert this entity again. We're going to do another offset on it. Oops, sorry, I actually have to accept my conversion, convert my entity, accept that. Do an offset entity. Reverse it, and I want that to be the same depth, 0.03. Accept that, fully defined sketch, exit my sketch, do a mid-plane extrusion, roll my model to the side, and I only want this to be 0.015. And there we have our finished tire. Now, if you don't want to see that axis again, all you got to do is go hide. So I can click hide or show on that axis. By default, when I put it in, it shows it. That's the tire. So we looked at doing offset entities. We've looked at doing some construction lines to make a fully defined shape. And then we've also looked at how we can sketch multiple times using the same converted entity. Thanks for watching.